this presentation is related to Internet of Things and its challenges. What is important, I've been working on Internet of Things since many years. Coming from a telecom operator like Télécom Italie, I was focusing on communication essentially. But Internet of Things is not just that, communication. It's a lot of other things. So what we will go through is what Internet of Things is and its challenges, and then a few of other things. What things are IoT and data, because I think it's quite important to talk about the data. And, well, that's my work about communication and a few other things. One important thing, we invent words, softwareization. What is it? If you look at the several industries, think to the music. With software, the music industry has gone through a tremendous disruption. If you look at the travel agency, because of the internet, you are not booking anymore your travel at the travel agency. You do that on Booking, on the internet. And this is also happening for the telecom industry. If you think to voice over IP, if you think to Skype, you can talk to many people through software applications all over the world, paying almost nothing. So there is a trend that is determined by the software. Mark Andreessen, you know, the inventor of Netscape, was saying, software will eat everything. Internet of Things will be essentially a software thing. You can virtualize sensor, you can virtualize platforms, everything will be software. So you probably are expert into the e-health. So software can do a lot of things for your patient, for the human being. So there is a lot of implication in the usage of software in many industries. So you see, this will have also an impact on business model, because we need to talk, when we talk about Internet of Things, we need also to talk about business model that are moving the things for the industry. It's not just research, it's also how people are going to make money or to save money. So one of the problems that many countries do have is how to balance the expenditure in health and the need to cut the costs. So software could be one of the things that could help us. Then you will see, we will talk a little bit about the virtual, what I call the virtual continuum. You can represent any single physical object in the cloud, into the internet. And so you can create a kind of link between any physical object and a software object. The important point is that the software object can be programmed, can provide to you services. And so you can transform a physical object into a set of services. I was working in Venice, in the Future Center of Télécom Italie. We wanted to create a virtual continuum in Venice. We wanted to represent into the cloud any facade of the Venetian buildings. What for? Because the building can tell you the story of Venice. So you can interact. You can walk in the street, coming across a statue, and the statue can tell you the story, its story. So you can imagine also for the tourism, what impact you can have. Now, think to a patient with all its data, all its story. And if you have the bracelet, if you have other sensor, you can get a lot of data that will describe the behavior of that person. So you move here into the big data. And big data is another issue, a big issue, because here the problem is how to understand what is the border, the right border. Who is the owner of the data? What can you do with the data? What kind of data you can collect in a fair way, in favor of the user? So there are plenty of things. And then another point that is important from the communication point of view Many years ago, we were saying, as telecom operator, we own the network and we are important. Now, all the intelligence goes into the terminals. The terminal that you have in your pocket now is much more capable of the computer in which I graduated. It was an IBM 370 many, many years ago. But it's much, much more capable, and there is a lot of intelligence, a lot of data, a lot of application there. So you see, there is a lot of things going on. Now, you know, Italy is very, we spend a lot of money. We spend 9% of our GPD into the health. And I think health is one of the major items into the regional budget. We have 20 regions, and they spend a lot, I think 80% of their budget is for health. So there is a strong pressure to try to make a better use of the money. So we need to enter, we also, telecom operators want to enter into the industry of health in order to create new processes, in order to cut down the cost, and also to provide better services, and to get a bit of revenue from there. But I think, as you can see, a lot of countries are spending between 9 and 10%. US is a little bit strange. They spend a lot of money, but they don't have, I assume, the same quality as the European can have. But I'm not an expert. I just was working in US for a while. So that is the idea. That is the thinking behind many, many industry of the telecommunication sector with respect to health. We want to come in because we have a software expertise. We can manage a sensor, we can manage complex systems, and we can help to cut down the costs. What is the Internet of Things? I've been working on this issue for many, many years, and we have been published a document in the IoT initiative of IEEE about the definition of Internet of Things. When I started that document, I was saying, oh, that's an easy job. In 2 weeks, I will have a nice definition of Internet of Things. I will look at the standards, and that's it. Well, I was totally wrong. There are plenty of definitions of Internet of Things, but they are all biased. You know, they are put forward because the proponent of that definition wants to say something about its business. So ITU say Internet of Things is network communication. If you look to other definitions, they say it's just sensor, because that is the sensor industry. So we had to work a lot in order to understand what is the Internet of Things. So the first thing came out, the first issue was, what are we talking about? A single administrative domain or multiple administrative domain? What is the meaning here? The meaning here is that if you are into a closed environment, let's say an hospital, Internet of Things could be a set of sensors that are taking measures, and some aggregators, and some services that will use the data. You can even have millions of sensors. It's not that much of a problem. But is that the Internet of Things that you have in mind? I don't think so. Probably you have in mind something different. You see many, many different systems, sensor systems, that are taking measurements from different environments. They are taking measurements from different devices with different formats and with different managers. And you need to put all the stuff together in order to understand what is going on. So this is a very simple environment. This is more like the human body. It's a complex system that is taking measurements from very, very different parts of the environment. And the problem is how to put all the stuff together. Who is the owner of the data? How you can develop intelligence with this stuff. So we came out with this definition. Internet of Things envision systems, so many systems, made out of network, sensor, and smart objects, whose purpose is to measure, control, operate on an environment in such a way to make it intelligent, usable, and programmable, and capable of offering services to the human beings. So it's a wide definition, a broad definition, but we think it's capturing the complexity behind Internet of Things when you are over multiple administrative domains. So that has taken us for many, many months. But it's not all. If you go to expert in Internet of Things, especially if you go to security expert and you say, what is the biggest problem in Internet of Things? He will say security. If you go to a telecom operator and you talk about Internet of Things, he will say the most important problem is protocols and communication. That is not true. There are plenty of technical issues, challenges, but these are more important. Let's start from the social. I don't think you would like to have a kind of echelon. You don't want to be monitored. You don't want to have people knowing where you are, what you are doing, what kind of activities you are performing. So you don't want to be scheduled, monitored. So there is a big issue in acceptance. Another point is privacy. Well, I hope there are not Americans here, but we are not Americans. We want to have privacy. There is a strong difference in the law in Europe and in America. Privacy in America is something related to the law between customer and industries. In Europe is a right of the citizen. So you can see the difference. So privacy is another big challenge. If you do not provide services in Internet of Things that do ensure privacy, you will not be succeeding. So then other things are businesses. Can you imagine what is the investment from a network operator point of view to connect all the sensors, for instance, back again to Venice. If we want to put sensors in Venice, it's incredibly expensive because you have to cover with the network all the city, and the city is very, if you have been there, it's very difficult because very high buildings, very straight streets, and communication is a nightmare there. Then you have to put the sensors. Then you have to maintain the sensors. So if you don't have a clear return in revenue, you are not going to deploy that. So you need to have acceptance from the user, a return of investment, and then you have to solve the technical issues. What we are doing usually is we solve a lot of technical issues. Sometimes we invent also technical issues. Then we try to deploy, and we do not get the acceptance from the users. And I think the medical sector is quite, in the medical sector, societal impact and business is quite important. So you have to think about how the patients will accept to be monitored all the time, and what is the costs associated to that. Okay, what are the things? Essentially, things are all the devices, all the objects that could be connected to an internet. There is a lot of discussion. People are saying, I don't know if you have ever heard about IPv6. IPv6 is the new version of the IP protocol, the internet protocol, with plenty of addresses. So many people say any device that can have an IPv6 address is a smart thing, because you can connect to it, you can get answer from it. So essentially, you can see you can have sensor, You can have actuators from many, many different point of view. You have cameras, you can have industrial things, you can put sensor on the animals to control the cattle. So there is a huge dimension of application of Internet of Things. Smart things will be everywhere. And if you think to Arduino, Arduino is a microprocessor, very low cost, or Raspberry Pi, they cost $20 now, with plenty of sensors. So you can put sensor and controller all over the places. So things will be almost everywhere. And if you remember the edge intelligence, here there is a lot of intelligence in terms of processing capabilities and in terms of data that you can capture. Okay, so how many things? Well, they say we will arrive to more than 50 billion of things. I don't know if this is exactly the right forecast, but there is a lot of implication here. Things to 15 billions of objects that are capturing measures about the environment, about people. That is an astonishing amount of data. Then you have different categories of things. Some are stupid, some are more intelligent, other will provide to you context-related information. And if Roberto Minerva is associated to one of these contextualized things, I can be spotted. I'm associated to this information, and that is the location. So people say Roberto Minerva is there, with an accuracy of 10 centimeters, or something like this. So you see, some example in health. I'm not an expert, but you know a lot of things related to this. I've been, 2 days ago, I was looking into the Arduino stuff, and they have for $450, I don't know how many sensors related to health. 2 years ago, I had a student from Brazil, and I took him into our labs. We have a group that is working on health, and we were showing to him very expensive sensors, thousands of euros, and this guy was saying, look, I can do the same for 1/10 of the cost because of the Arduino stuff. Okay. I will skip a bit of things, and I want to go to one important point. Data. If there are 50 billions of devices that are capturing information, and each sensor is producing 2 megabytes of data per day, at the end of the day, you have 88, almost 90 petabytes per day. That is an enormous amount of data. Who is the owner of this data? Who has the right to do analytics on top of that? Who is going to who is going to use it? Why the user has not the right to have its data back? Think to Gmail. The amount of information they extract from you, and they do not return that information to you. They know exactly to whom you have been writing, where have you been, and that data is not returned to you. If you are connected to a device like this, you produce an incredible amount of data that do perfectly describe your life. And the same thing is for big data in health. There are a lot, you know better than I do, there are a lot of projects going on, for instance, in MIT. They want to access to a large amount of data sets in order to spot how some disease will spread and things like this. For instance, with the mobile data from an English operator, a group of biologists was able to understand how viruses spread into a community, because 80% of the population was commuting a distance lower than 20 kilometers. So they were able to create a model on the virus spread. So you see, a lot of data, a lot of information there. Okay, I will skip the IoT communication, but not this one. This is quite important also for you. There are many technologies. One is produced by Intel. They put into a very simple device Wi-Fi communication. So each single device will be able to communicate. So that will be a tremendous change, because devices will be able to store data, processing data, and communicate. So everything will be changed because of this capability. And there is a lot of intelligence here. You can imagine if you are in a stadium, if you are in an hospital, all these nodes, maybe they are also mobile nodes, they can communicate and they can get information. Okay, so I think I have to wrap up. The last slide, I think, is the most important. In Internet of Things, one of the big issues is the software. And you can see Google is coming out with Brillo, Huawei with another platform, Samsung with another one. Why? Because the owner of the platform will see all the data passing by, will see what kind of application can be created on top of those data. So they will be enablers of the IoT applications. There will be a lot of value. The value will be on the software platforms. So we need to be aware. It would be nice to have an European platform for doing this kind of stuff, but I don't think it will happen. Okay, so keep in mind that software is the most important things when you talk about Internet of Things and the different application domain. I think my time is over.